ICR, Iona College Radio.
And welcome back to the Morning Mix. Ian Sachs, Robert Buncardo. Rob, we talked about baseball spring training and, preseason baseball, but it's postseason college basketball time. The greatest time of the year in my eyes. When March rolls around, I get chills just thinking about it. The March Madness brackets are just less than 2 weeks away. I cannot wait. That is 100% when I am in my biggest glory. But before we can get there, we have all the different, conference tournaments and everything like that. And Iona and the MAAC are no different with the upcoming MAAC tournament at the end of the week and over the weekend. And, Rob, the Iona teams have a pretty good shot at contending for the titles.
Yeah, they really do. They've really stepped it up this year, especially the men. The women's team was great this year. D'Amica Martinez, Joy Adams, they all really stepped up. This team was great down the stretch. Now going to the men's team, look at it, Ian. Cedric Cashmere, the rookie, was just phenomenal. The kid is a natural scorer, could hit from anywhere on the court. Phenomenal. David Lowry, he really lived up to the player of the year this year from the preseason rankings. Dave rebounded. He scores. AJ English hit in. AJ had times where he struggled in games, but he always came down with the big shot towards the end. And this team, really, they are flying, and I can't wait to see them in this tournament this weekend.
And you mentioned so many of the top players there. Yesterday, the MAAC coming out with their all-MAAC team selections, and really no surprises there from an Iona standpoint. On the women's side, you have D'Amica Martinez, senior guard, and Joy Adams, junior forward, both named to the first team. Both preseason first team selections, both preseason All-American selections. So really no surprise there. The two of them put up phenomenal years. D'Amica Martinez led the MAAC in scoring for a fourth straight year. She just had a phenomenal season, averaging 24 points a game. Joy Adams, a double-double every game. If she didn't get a double-double, you knew the other team did a phenomenal job on her, because it would seem like she'd have 10 points, 8 rebounds at halftime, and 2 rebounds shy, and then she'd finish with a 23-point, 18 rebound performance, and you're just saying to yourself, how? She's so good. And then jumping over to the men's side, you mentioned Dave Lowry, AJ English, both of them named to the All-MAAC first team. And, of course, joining them, the rookie Cedric Cashmere, the freshman guard, being named to the All-MAAC rookie team and the All-MAAC second team. So, really, no surprises there from an Iona standpoint. Those were the 5 best players for the Maroon and Gold this season. And, really, you have to feel pretty good about Iona's chances with the All-MAAC award show, with the All-MAAC awards dinner coming up on Thursday night, because the first teamers are now finalists for the player of the year, which I think you have to feel pretty good that it's going to go to the 2 preseason players of the year in D'Amica Martinez and David Lowry. Martinez looking for a 3rd straight MAAC Player of the Year award, and really, I'd be shocked if she doesn't get it. On the men's side, David Lowry, his consistency really, I think, was what will sell, the coaches in the league in picking him as Player of the Year. 15 double-doubles, and no game in which he had a single-digit scoring performance. So just, minimum 10 points every game, and that adds up. The Gales coming away with some 1-point victories, 3-point victories, 4-point victories. Let's say Dave Lowry has 7 points instead of 10. That could be the difference between Iona going 17-3 in the MAAC and maybe 16-4, 15-5.
Yeah, His performances this year are amazing. One thing, Ian, I had to comment that I felt he really did a good job with. He could pull up from the three this year, and you know what? There were times where where the team would hit like a cold break, and then Dave would come and hit 2 3-pointers, and you're seeing this, and you're like, wow, this guy is hitting it. This big guy is hitting it. Another thing I had to say with Dave can control the ball, has such great handles going down court, really improved over the years here at Iona. And the guy is just phenomenal. You have to be careful, especially when you go rebound against David Lowry, because the guy will just grab that ball right off the rim. He is crazy with the rebounds. He will score on you. He will dunk on you. Never leave the lane open for Dave, because Dave will just exploit you right away and will dunk right on you. David Lowry, I hope he wins MAAC Player of the Year. Just phenomenal year again for him this year.
Well, I think that, I said it earlier. I think that he is the favorite to win MAAC Player of the Year, and Rob, you alluded to it with his ability to drive the lane and take the ball up the court. There are a lot of times the last 2 years we'll see Dave pull down a defensive rebound, and he's the one bringing it up the court. When you have a 6'8" forward controlling the point guard position, that just creates so many different matchup problems for opposing teams. And, a lot of times in the post-game press conferences, the opposing coaches would be asked about that, about what kind of a matchup problem does that present. And, they'll say, when you have the biggest player on the Iona team controlling the ball as well as Lowry does, that creates so many matchup problems. But Rob, you said it. What the biggest addition to Dave's arsenal this year has been the three-point shot. And I remember, in maybe the first few games when I saw him pull up, I said, really? Lowry's taking that shot? Nothing but net, completely going down. And the first time I said, wow. And then, then I started to see it more. And now, when Dave gets it on the three-point line, between his quickness to drive the lane and his shooting ability, the defender really has no idea what he's going to do.
Yeah, Ian, I'll go back earlier this season, one game versus Siena, where I remember right before the first half ended, Dave hit like 2 big threes, and I'm like, wow. And you know what, when it comes to that, it's how do you change your game plan to go against David Lowry? Do you put a point guard on him? Do you have to move your forward up top to the top of the key? And, it's just amazing what Coach Tim Kluse has done for him. They've really worked so well together, and you know what? Kluse has really helped Dave change his game, has made him into the player he is. This offense this year, this team just continues on. This team scores. They do everything, and really proud for these guys, what they finished with this year.
Well, really, what you have to look at is that with Dave Lowry adding a three-point shot to his arsenal, he's showing that now anybody of the 5 guys on the floor for Iona can play down low. Any of them can play on the three-point line. Any of them can drive the lane. And it presents so many matchup problems. And when you have, so many guys that can do this, that have, pretty similar skill sets, it makes each player interchangeable. So, let's say Dave goes down with foul trouble. You put in maybe someone like Kelvin Amaya. You think, all right, Kelvin's a little faster than, Kelvin's a little shorter, but maybe he has a little more speed. No, there's really no drop-off with this team. Let's say AJ's not hitting his shot. Maybe you take him out. You put in, Vangelis Bebis. He can knock down a couple three-pointers and really provide a spark off the bench.
He's a good passer as well. Bebis makes some smart moves when he passes the ball. Ryden Hines, too, is another one. He's a good guy coming off the bench. You know what? He's a threat down low. He could pick up 4 or 5 rebounds a game, score 4 points. But those 4 points end up being big in the game because Ryden always gets big shots come the second half. And that's one thing. You got to be careful when you go up against Ryden Hines, especially in the paint. Guy could play really great defense on teams.
And in addition to that, we talked a lot about Dave Lowry improving on his shot. Ryden Hines. Ryden Hines is not afraid to pull the trigger on a three. If he gets it and if he's wide open, he's taking that shot. And, that's the beauty of it with this Coach Klose offense, that, nobody's afraid to shoot the ball. And really, the coaches won't get mad if you miss a shot. As long as it's a good shot and works with the offense, that they'll take their chances.
Yeah. The thing with the system, you can't be afraid. Always take the smart shot, and that's one thing with Kluse's team you always see. And it's always a lot of ball movement. They don't settle for that shot. Oh, one pass, bam. No, it's always, you'll see it. They'll line up on top, get maybe 3 or 4 passes, then find it at the corner. You'll see Cedric. He'll hit a big 3 down the stretch. AJ English open on the top. Dave Lowry somehow left wide open underneath. It's always, every player cares about each other. They're just like brothers. One brother goes off on the other brother, and it's amazing what these guys do.
And there was an article in the New York Times last week about Coach Klose and his offensive style and everything. And apparently in practice, they run a 10-second drill where instead of the normal 35 seconds on the shot clock, they put 10 seconds on the shot clock. And they want to see, how well this team can run their offense in 10 seconds, which when you start playing for that and wanting to get a quality shot in the first 10 seconds, that's before the defense is set. And before the defense even knows it, because this team has so many good shooters and can really score in so many different ways, before the defense even knows it, they're taking the ball out of the hoop and heading back the other way. So really, when you speed the game up like that, and now you're saying to the other team, okay, we just scored, come right back at us. We'll give you 35 seconds of defense, but then when we come right back down, we're scoring, we're going, and then you got to come right back at us. So really, just the way that this team pushes it and at the clip that they can score, it's no wonder that every single year Coach Kluse's teams rank right in the top 10 in the nation in scoring, and why they flirt with that 80-point-a-game mark every single year.
His offense, Ian, it really reminds me, going to the NBA of Mike D'Antoni's system with the Phoenix Suns, where they were always top scorers, a team that could score over 100 points a game, and, always fast-paced with Steve Nash and Maury Stoudemire. And that's what you see every time. You mentioned it. That's what you see every time with Kluse's offense. They get that rebound, you better hurry up, because Iona's down already. They're down 3/4 down the court already, and they'll be set up ready to score on you. And you have to be prepared about that. Really fast team, and they are just amazing. The team that averages over 80 points a year, Ian, they hit the 3, they hit anywhere on the court. Why am I saying hit the 3? They hit anywhere on the court, and just an amazing job with these gentlemen this year.
And Iona finishing 17-3 in the MAAC. MAAC regular season champions for the second straight year, and completing the 2014-15 slate. I believe it. 24-7.
Yeah,
I think, and just an absolutely sensational job. That's without having their third leading scorer, Isaiah Williams, for 12 games in that stretch, going 11-1 without Williams, and pulling out a ton of close games there. Pulling it out against Siena without both English and Williams, pulling it out at Marist, pulling it out when losing by 14 at halftime to Monmouth, pulling it out here. So really a great job winning both against Manhattan, always a tough game for the Gales. And now heading into the MAAC tournament, they're the 1 seed. They have a bye in the first round, so automatically in the quarterfinals. And they get the winner of the 8-9 game. Rob, do you have the bracket up?
I don't have. I have the schedule. I have the Thursday schedule.
Who's in the 8-9 game?
8 and 9. I'm gonna. Well, they don't have the numbers. That's the only problem for the MAAC.
Okay.
I could pull it up, But Thursday at 5 o'clock, there's Niagara versus Siena. 7 o'clock on Thursday, you have Fairfield versus St. Peter's. 9 o'clock, Marist versus Quinnipiac. And then Iona plays Saturday at 12 p.m.
Yeah, Iona has the winner of the Siena-Niagara game. So that, should be a good matchup for the Gales. Niagara pulling out a 1-point victory. Iona pulled out a 1-point victory at Niagara, and Iona escaping with a I think a 3-point victory at home against Siena. So the Gales know that both of these teams can hang right there with them. So I think that's good. I think that the loss to St. Peter's in the regular season finale 2 days ago was the best thing that this team could have gotten. I think they needed a wake-up call, and I was talking to Anthony Carlo about it yesterday, and we were saying that we think that loss awoke a sleeping giant. And, I happen to like Iona's chances. I think that they should definitely handle the winner of the Siena-Niagara game in the quarterfinals. Moving ahead, let's say Iona advances, going to the semifinals. They'll get the winner of the Monmouth and Canisius game. I think that is another favorable matchup for Iona, given the fact that Iona split both matchups with Monmouth and both matchups with Canisius in the regular season, winning both at the Heinz Center en route to going 13-0 and losing both on the road. So Iona knows that these teams are not to be overlooked and really could pose a threat to the Maroon and Gold. So I think that is another favorable matchup for Iona. And then, of course, when you get to the championship game, it could be Rider, the number 2 seed. It could be the big rivals, the Manhattan Jaspers, for a 3rd straight year in the MAAC championship. So really, I think that you have to like Iona's chances to at least get to the championship game. And then when the chips are down after last year's disappointing loss to Manhattan, I have to feel pretty good about the Gales' chances of winning.
I'm just a little bit scared. I think their biggest threat in this tournament, Ian, is Canisius. I mean, we go back to last year, what Barron's team did, but that, was with Chris Manhertz there. You had Billy Barron, really pushed Iona towards the end. You talk about this year, Canisius pulling the win at their home, at their arena, beating Iona, that split decisions. Canisius, Barron knows how to play against Luce's offense, and that's the biggest threat going down the stretch versus Iona. I think we could take any other team. Manhattan, yeah, they're going to pose a threat, but I think Iona can handle them. I think Iona's at full health now. Isaiah Williamson is back, and I think we could handle Manhattan very well. I just think Canisius is the game you really have to watch out for, because that's the team I think that's going to push them to the limit.
So, Rob giving the Gales the biggest challenge in the quarterfinals. I like it. I like it a lot. And, that's the mentality that you have to look at, that the next game is your biggest task. And, you start overlooking, Canisius and thinking, they're the 8-9 seed. We'll top them. We'll get to the semis. We'll get to the championship. You know what? You overlook a team like Canisius, you're not playing in the semis. You're not playing in the championship. So I definitely like that mentality. And, that's a very interesting point, given the fact that, look at this. Canisius beat Iona in Canisius up in Buffalo only about, 7 weeks ago. So definitely Iona has to be conscious of that. Now, quickly, Rob, jumping over to the women's side, the Gales coming into the MAAC tournament as the 4 seed, and they have Siena, the 5 seed, in the quarterfinals. Iona getting a bye, and looking ahead, the Gales coming off of, I think, maybe one of their 2 or 3 best performances of the year on Senior Day, defeating a very good Niagara team that had come on strong towards the end of the season. They topped Marist, and Iona winning by 28, 81-53. Just putting together, I think, an all-around complete solid game for 40 minutes, which is something that this team hadn't been doing recently in their last few games, against some of the top teams in Quinnipiac and Marist and Fairfield, putting together stretches of brilliance, but just not a complete game and losing, 6 out of 8, I think. But, of course, those 6 games were to the top teams in the MAAC. So, really, Rob, the Gales have Siena in the opening game, a team they beat twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say they beat the Saints. Then they're probably going to have to play the top-seeded Quinnipiac undefeated Bobcats in the semifinals before they even get a chance at maybe Marist or Fairfield in the championship. So, what is it going to take? I think that this team, as much as the men are powered by their offense, the women have to look at their defense.
Yeah, I mean, Ian, for this one, first of all, I'm going to start this off right off the back. I want Quinnipiac. I want us playing Quinnipiac. I don't care that they're undefeated at this point. You know what? Undefeated doesn't mean anything right now. This is tournament time. It's which rival is going to stand up against the rival? And you know what? Iona women's basketball, D'Amica Martinez's last year, she's not backing down. I'm telling you this right now. There's that hunger. They want that MAAC championship for her. You know what? She deserves it. For all the hard work she puts in, I mean, I'll give it to the rest of the team. Well, all the hard work D'Amica puts in herself. That girl could score, does a lot for this team. And I'm telling you now, versus Quinnipiac, they're going to put up a battle. The defense, though, that's the major concern. As you said, that's the major concern. But I'm telling you now, they want Quinnipiac. They're hungry this year. D'Amica's last year. And I think it's going to be a battle, that game. I really think it's a battle. And you know what? I'm choosing Iona in that one. I'm putting my heart and soul into Iona, into my school. I think that the girls can pull this one off. There's that hunger still, and I think they're going to drive off of it.
I love the confidence. I love the enthusiasm. I love the confidence in your team, Iona. And, both times the Gales played Quinnipiac, they were right there with 5 minutes to go. Up at Quinnipiac, down 1 to the best team in the MAAC on the road with 5 minutes to go. Now, Iona did lose that game by 11, getting outscored 14-4 in the final 5 minutes. But down 1 with 5 minutes to go to the best team in the MAAC on their home court. I'll take that.
Yeah.
And then here, Iona led for the majority of the game against Quinnipiac and only lost it in the final stretch. So I think if the Gales can find a way to dig down deep and, have enough stamina in the tank to play those final 5 minutes at the level that they did the first 35 minutes, then I like Iona's chances of pulling off the upset. Iona Quinnipiac in the 1 versus the 4 in the MAAC championship last year, the roles were reversed and the Bobcats pulled off the upset. I like that, Rob, with Iona pulling off the upset of Quinnipiac. But then, let's say Iona does do that, then they're probably going to have Marist waiting for them in the championship. The 9-time defending MAAC champion, 26-0 at the MAAC tournament in that stretch. Rob, you think, fine, you beat the undefeated Quinnipiac Bobcats, you're going to win the championship, but then you have Marist.
Yeah, that's just all experience, that team. In 9 straight championships, that's a team that, that's like in high school football, teams like Stepinac, Iona, St. Francis, and those are teams that always are the big schools. And what am I talking about? St. Anthony's. That's the team I'm talking about. St. Anthony's. St. Anthony's is a team that I always see in the championship, in that final matchup, and that kind of reminds me of this Marist team. I mean, Marist, though, that's going to be a real tough battle. 9 years in 9 straight championships, and that's going to be tough to dethrone a team like that, especially when they're looking for number 10.
And, Rob, I think that's what the biggest challenge is for the Iona Gales. It's that in order to get to a MAAC championship and win one, finally, it's probably going to have to take beating Quinnipiac and Marist on back-to-back days. And that's a tall order for anybody.
Yeah, that's like going into like a gladiator arena and fighting the best warrior, and then now you got to fight like the king or the emperor, and it's going to be crazy. I mean, just think about that. That's like saying in the NBA, that's like taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers one day and then taking on maybe the Spurs another day, back-to-back days, and that's a real tough challenge to them. I mean, Iona's really, they have to stay healthy. That's one thing. They're going to have to stay healthy because Quinnipiac's going to be a real physical game. But then you go into that Marist game, even more physical, and back-to-back days, you can only see what toll the body could take on itself.
It's certainly going to be a challenge for even both Iona teams, but, it should be a great weekend. And, Rob, I cannot wait for it. I've been looking forward to it all season. And then we get to March Madness shortly after that. But first, the MAAC tournament this week, it should be sensational. And hopefully Iona can, maybe even come away with 2 gold balls, which would be phenomenal. Rob, it's been a pleasure this morning, and we'll be back here next week on the Morning Mix.
Find the academic challenge, tight-knit community.